How did you get to New York City?
Practically, literally, I came after graduating from a school near Dallas called the University of North Texas.
Sure.
And then before that, I was born and raised in Southern California, in Orange County.
Was New York always on your radar? Was that a place you wanted to end up?
No, I would say that I really wasn't sure that I would end up here. I wanted to be here until I was really close to graduating. So at University of North Texas, I got a jazz degree, a really great school, really great program down there. And, when I was a junior, I thought about, okay, graduation's coming up. I got to make a decision. I could either stay here, go back home to LA, or go to New York. And I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Obviously, my family's all in Southern California, and they have a thriving music scene, and it would be possible. And then I think one summer in between my junior and senior year, my mom and I took a trip out here to New York just to check it out.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't been as an adult. I think I came as a kid for a family vacation once or twice, but never really to check it out or the music scene or what it would be like to live here. And we just hit up all different jazz clubs. My mom was a trooper. We're staying out till 3, 4 in the morning. I'm dragging her around to all these places. And I just kind of fell in love with the energy, the vibe, the music, the scene here. I was really interested in pursuing jazz and improvised music. And I felt that for what I wanted to do, New York had the better fit for me versus either staying in Dallas or going back to LA. So I decided to move here, just took the leap. I barely knew anybody. One or two friends was all I knew out here. And I said, I just wanted to do this anyway. And it's probably the best decision I've made in my career. I'm very happy about that.
You talked about the vibe. What was the scene like? What do you remember from that trip?
It was a bit of a culture shock. I grew up in like suburbia.
Yeah.
And then the city where I went to college, my undergrad in Texas near Dallas is called Denton, which is also kind of like a suburban town. But I think I was always just drawn to energy, life, vibrancy. I kind of have this memory as a kid thinking that like, man, I would love to live in like an apartment and walk to work and kind of, so I guess city life was always a part of my dreams. How that manifested in what career was not really specific back then, but I've kind of always had a drawn to this kind of lifestyle. And so when I got here and I got to experience it and staying out late was just very cool, very exciting. And I loved it. And it was an easy decision after that.
Had you ever seen anything like that before? Had you ever been in a city that had that many jazz clubs, that much energy? Is there another city that really compares?
No. There's a lot of cities that have clubs all over the world. It's not just the U.S., but there's just something about New York. I mean, historically, the music here historically, it was and still is the epicenter of jazz. And the history of how this music developed here in the city, I think is still a very, very much part of the DNA of the scene and the people who live here and the music that they play and the energy that carries. Like some of the venues are the same as they were a long time ago, like the Village Vanguard. Yeah. There is countless classic, amazing recordings done in that room that you can go tonight and see a show in there and hear the way that it sounds. So I think there's something about the history of New York that other places don't have, which makes it special.
Yeah.
But also it's a grind living here. We all struggle in one way or another. It's not an easy place to live. It's not a comfortable place to live. And I think that kind of adds to the effort of wanting to be better, because it's not easy. I can't coast living here.
Yeah.
Not is only expensive, but everybody wants to come here.
Yeah.
And so everyone who's really good wants to come here. So even though the scene is supportive, it's still somewhat competitive. You have to kind of push yourself to be the best. So that kind of energy also, I feel like that vibe contributes to the energy of the city and the community, which other places don't have.
You said you have a musical family.
I have a brother who's a pianist. But both of my parents are accountants. And but I would say that they are musical. We always had music on in the house growing up. I have memories of driving around when I was a kid, errands with my mom. There's always different music playing in the car. And my mom can sing. She never did it professionally, but my mom has a good voice and a good ear, and she can sing. And her brother, my uncle, who is a chiropractor, is also a huge music fan. So my grandparents could sing. Both of my grandparents on my mom's side led a church choir in the 60s, and they made a record together. So there's musicality in my family, but my brother and I are the only people who pursued it as a profession.
When do you remember first resonating with music or being pulled in that direction?
I don't think I can remember a time where I wasn't. I started piano lessons when I was 4 years old. Didn't really like it. But my brother, who I mentioned, he's 3 years older than I am. And he also started piano lessons when he was 4. But he took to it like crazy, like borderline child prodigy. Just took off. Was extremely talented, really good at it. And, my parents like, whoa, there's something. So then I come around, well, let's try it with this one. Less success. I didn't like it. I didn't like practicing, but I didn't want to quit because my older brother was doing it. And I have to do everything my older brother was doing.
Of course.
And then I remember one day we went to a music school where my brother was taking piano lessons. And my mom said, oh, you're taking drum lessons today. Just out of the blue. Didn't tell me because she knew I wouldn't agree to it. I've been taking 4 years of piano lessons, struggling at this point. I was hating it. They could tell that I wasn't liking it. Just sign me up for drum lessons. And in that first lesson, the teacher showed me a basic rock beat or something. And at 8 years old, I could just do it innately. And in my 8-year-old brain, I was thinking, oh, this is easy. This is fun. The piano was so hard for me and I hated practicing it, but drums came so naturally. And I come to find out later, my parents would tell me that when I was a baby, infant, toddler, whenever they put music on, I would be dancing or I'd be hitting things. So they sensed there was some sort of rhythmic thing in me. I had a natural sense of rhythm. So when piano wasn't working out, they tried, what's the most rhythmic instrument? They tried drums. And it's the same kind of thing. I took to it really quickly. It came very naturally. And from that point on, it's all I ever really, truly cared about.
So what did you do next? Did they saw that you had a passion for this and the lessons just got more frequent and more intense? What's the story of where it went?
I feel like I'm very, very lucky in many ways. The first way is that I had parents who were not necessarily musicians, but gave my brother and I full support. So lessons every week, never said that we should find a real hobby, or not, it wasn't anything temporary. I had their support and still do to this day since I was 8 years old to now. So that's very fortunate. The second fortunate thing is I had really great drum teachers my whole life. My first drum teacher was a drummer in a really famous Orange County punk band called Social Distortion. And the way that he taught me was transcriptions. So do you know what a transcription is? A transcription is basically where you write out exactly what someone plays on a recording. So I'm 8 years old having to play exactly what the drummer on the Foo Fighters played. So I played transcriptions of Foo Fighters, Weezer, No Doubt, Third Eye Blind, stuff like that as a little kid. And he wouldn't let me go to the next song until I played it good enough. So I'm learning how to sight read. I'm reading rhythms. I'm learning how to play and match ears music like to a song. And I'm having to play parts that like a professional drummer is doing, but as like a little kid. And that continued on. I had a really great, amazing, great teacher throughout high school. And then in college, I studied with Ed Soph, who is probably one of the best jazz drumming pedagogues ever. And then in my master's, I studied with John Riley, who's also one of the best jazz drumming pedagogue teachers ever. So I've been really fortunate to have a lineage of good teachers. But as a kid, the third reason I say that I'm really lucky is I had a school district. I went to public school. I had a school district that had an amazing music program from elementary school all the way through high school. And when I was going through school in the state of California, was having a lot of budget cuts. So school districts were cutting arts programs. Not my district. They kept it going. So I was lucky enough that I was able to be in a big band, like a jazz big band. In sixth grade, I was 12. And then our high school program was really strong. And since my brother was older than me, I would go to all their concerts. And I just think to myself, I cannot wait till I'm old enough that I get to be a part of this. They also had a really great marching band. So I did marching band in high school. We were a very, very good school, competed in top divisions, won a lot. So I was always in a public school environment that almost had, I feel like, had art magnet school priorities for the arts, which is very lucky and rare in that situation. So I was always in an environment that was fostered, that I, was exposed to the next level, the higher kids for inspiration. So I was always looking forward to the next thing, and that was provided for me. So really strong programs with good prioritizing and funding by the school district allowed me, and plus my parents' support and good teachers, which is kind of like a perfect storm of fortune to have like the most streamlined path of development that I could to be able to reach, to be able to make the decision like, hey, I'm going to move to New York to be a professional musician. I have enough confidence that I could do that.
You said your brother was a borderline prodigy. It sounds like you had some natural talent here.
I would say natural talent. I wouldn't say I was like a child prodigy like him. He also played trumpet really well. And there was a time in the middle school when he was in middle school, their jazz band was playing a song with a tricky bass line that the bass player couldn't do. So he played it at the concert. My brother did.
Wow.
Yeah. I can really only play drums. So
did you have a sense even from an early age that this might be something not that was just a hobby, but like this was going to be your life?
Looking back, I would say, yeah. At the time, not really, but it was always something that was a major part of my life. Since I was 8 years old. So that's like third grade. I had like homework and baseball practice and then drum lessons. And then as I got older through middle school, those other things kind of changed, but there was always drum lessons, and now like after school band practice. And like high school, it was like band competitions. And then I did like a all-state band drum lessons. And then in college, it was just like school and drum lessons. And then graduate, it was just drum. So it was the only thing that was really consistent in my life of like an activity that I was doing. So looking back, yeah, that's passion, because I never got sick of it. I was very motivated to get better, to try to just be the best that I can be, because I enjoyed doing it. So yeah, looking back now at my life, it is kind of the only thing I ever could have ended up doing.
There's a lot of passion. Did you have a fairly clear sense of what this could look like as a life, as a career?
No. No. And I think part of my, youth and being naive was that it didn't matter. And I think part of that attitude might have helped me, because my life and my interests now are different than what they were when I moved here. But I'm totally happy with that. I found other avenues to exist inside of what I do, little niches I'm trying to cut out for myself, and still doing the things that I loved to do, but I didn't really have a clear goal. I had an idea of kind of what I wanted to be. I was going to be this jazz player, and I'm going to, be a part of a certain scene and play certain music at certain venues. And that kind of shifted at some point. That I still do a lot of that, but I do other music related things too.
When did you know that it was really the jazz scene that you were interested in versus the other avenues you could have gone down?
Probably because I've been having a jazz education since I was 12. Like I mentioned, I was in that big band.
Yeah.
We were playing jazz music. And then my high school had a really good jazz band, and we did like competitions and stuff like that. So it was a music that I was always learning. I can do rock gigs, I can do pop gigs, I can play all that other stuff as well. But I was really trained in jazz. So I was given these records, listen to these drummers, listen to this song, listen to how this, and I would listen to it and think, wow, how did they think to play that? Why did they play that? How do they sound like that? That sounds so good. I think the improvisational nature of the music is what really draws me to it, not necessarily the style. I feel like every single style has elements of improvisation in it. So that's what I'm really interested in, is the creation of whatever you're doing in the moment of whatever style. But that's just the easiest to study in jazz, because that's the foundation of the music. But you can apply that to every situation.
I don't think most people think of North Texas as being a hub for jazz or for music in general.
It was.
How did you learn about that university?
My brother went there.
Really?
So I inadvertently followed his footsteps. North Texas was one of, if not the first program that offered a jazz degree. It started in the 50s, in 54, early to mid 50s, something like that. It started a degree that you could call jazz studies, I think. and you could go there and get a degree in it. It was one of the first ones. Berkeley was, I don't know, maybe Berkeley is not a part of it, or was second or first or something. But North Texas was in the 50s. They started a program, and there's a long lineage of it being like a hub for incredible jazz education, and they have amazing alumni. And the school has a really big reputation as a good jazz program. It's not a conservatory. North Texas is a state school.
Yeah.
But the College of Music itself is kind of like world renowned. So my brother went there, and when I was a senior in high school, I didn't know that I wanted to be a musician. I didn't know that I wanted to study this in college. I think I applied to 10 or 12 colleges, and only 3 were for music. The other were for business. I was going to get a business degree. And I went to North Texas for my audition. And in my audition there, I was auditioning for the drum professor, Ed Sof, who I mentioned before. And 5 or 10 minutes into it, he says, stop. Okay. I'm going to admit you. But why did you play that thing what you did right there? Tell me why. And I couldn't answer it. I didn't know. Why you do? Are you aware that you're doing this certain thing, or your bass drum dynamic is way louder than like the rest of the kit? It was unbalanced or whatever. Your time was weird or something like that. And I thought to myself, wow, I just learned more in 5 minutes in this audition that I had in years prior, and just taking drum lessons and studying stuff. So I thought, that's incredible. What would 4 years of this be like? And then my brother took me around. There was some friends of his had a local gig somewhere, and I got to see kids slightly older than me, but not much, sound incredible in a way that I haven't heard my peers sound before. Very inspiring. So I think the combination of the audition, then my brother showing me around, to people only a few years older than me sounding like the records I listened to, was mind-blowing. And I thought, okay, this is really, really cool. I want to do this.
So these two paths, the potential business path and then the potential music path, was it really that feedback and the belief that you could accelerate your learning that made you move in a musical direction versus going down a business path?
Probably it gave me the last bit of reassurance that this is what I was going to do. I think some part of me, it's always what I was going to do. But that really made it a clear cut. That just, it kind of positively reinforced. It gave me some sort of, validation that my life up to that point, this passion that I've had for music and drums I was on a right path. This is something that I could potentially do. I didn't know. I was just in high school. And then when I get to a good program with a well-known teacher, and get that kind of feedback, I was like, oh, this is something that, okay, I'm not crazy for thinking this. This hasn't been a waste of time. Maybe I am good enough to try this out.
Did you have a sense at that point of what a business career might look like for you? Were you genuinely interested in that, or that was just more responsible?
I think it was more responsible. My parents were in that space. So I felt like I could have gone down that road. And since they were both accountants in that space, advice or whatever kind of guidance through that would have been fine. I cannot imagine my life like that now. And just given my personality or things that what I want out of life, and kind of like how I like to structure my days and long-term goals, and just like my soul. I think I'm happier doing this. It would have been fine the other way, but I think like happiness and like listening to yourself and like fulfillment, I feel very fulfilled
and aligned with the work that you do.
Aligned. Yeah, exactly.
The University of North Texas, that experience, I don't know if there's much else to say there. Was it a continuous learning experience like you hoped it would be? Did it succeed in that area?
I would say it exceeded anything that I hoped. I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, it's just like going to college, like I'm 18, like I don't know. I have this idea of what college is, kind of from what I've heard from my brother who was there for 3 years at that point. But what you see on TV and movies. But I didn't know what to expect, especially with the music focus. And now it was the only thing. that I was studying. I think I had to take some sort of like core Texas classes. So like it's like a state school, so I had to take, whatever some state requirements to graduate. But for the like 90% of my classes was all music focused. And I needed it. Like ear training classes and theory classes. I'm a drummer. I didn't know that stuff coming in. Like, can you hear what kind of chord this is? Or can you look at this piece of paper and tell me what chord it is? Can you analyze this piece of music and say, what is this? And why is that? There's whole like necessary musician things that I didn't know. But it's like a college class. So it was fine. But the experience itself was incredible. And I've made some lifelong friends there. And it was such an environment where I was constantly inspired by my peers to do better. One of the first things I remember, like a real kind of wake-up call, was there's a friend of mine who's one of my favorite drummers. His name is Matt Young. We came in together at the same time, and I'll never forget this. There's a practice building. There's 2 practice buildings at North Texas, and drums you can hear people playing inside. And I set up my drums. I'm just playing, warming up or whatever in the day, and I take a walk down the hallway, and I hear the most incredible drumming I've heard in person. Like, who is this? Like, I thought it was, a senior or grad student, but it was just another kid from Atlanta who's my age. And he just became like a incredible source of inspiration for me throughout the whole time I was there because he was so good. He still inspires me today, but he was my age. So it wasn't like some sort of, this guy's like been in the scene forever. It's just, I could see what was possible. Like, wow, if I work really hard, or who is he listening to? Or let's become friends with him and kind of like, how does he think about this kind of stuff?
What did you learn from meeting him and getting to know him?
It's hard to say now, but I just think at the time, just hearing, you learn a lot by listening. So I don't think there's anything I could say in words, like a clear idea, but just watching someone play and listening to them, and you can kind of like see their decision making in real time, and you can like just always like from like a technical standpoint, like how good someone sounds. But he is one of many. There's bass players like that. There's pianists like that. I mean, and then what was really popular at the time when I was in school there was that people would have student bands that would write original music and go play them out in the city. So there'd be like local bars, local restaurants, and then there'd be just great music that your peers are putting on. So I'm checking that out. Sometimes I'm in those bands playing, and then my friends come in and check it out. It was a very communal thing. I feel like we all brought each other up. And then of course there were also like, band placements every semester that you had to audition for. So there was always like a goal that you could get dropped, or you could go up a band. So there's always that part of it. But I think that like the community bringing each other up and supporting each other was really, really beneficial for me.
Did you get a better sense in school of what was next for you? I know you said you went to grad school, but in terms of what your future as a musician might look like, was that becoming clearer to you?
No, but I'm thinking about this now for the first time when you asked that question. I've always thought about what's next. So like when I was in elementary school, I saw the middle school band. They did like a Christmas concert tour of all the elementary schools. And my brother was in it. Wow, those guys sound so good. And then I was in middle school. I saw the high school band, like, wow, those guys sound so good. And when I'm a freshman at North Texas, I'm seeing like the seniors and grads. Wow, those guys sound so good. Yeah. So I think there was an element of me that was always just kind of, okay, well, what's the next level I can go immerse myself in? And so that was New York. Because to me, there's no place higher than this. Because all of my heroes either lived here or live here, have made a career here at some point. So I don't think there's any other place that's beyond New York for improvised music. So after Texas, that's kind of thing. What's the next thing? What's the next level that I think everyone sounds so good and that I want to dive in and immerse myself in that?
Did you know you came here for grad school?
Yeah.
That this would sort of be the life move, that kind of once you arrived here, you'd probably be here for a while. Did you have a sense that this was going to be a life relocation?
Yeah, maybe. Again, because I was a little bit young and maybe a little bit naive. I wasn't thinking that far ahead. Yeah. But I did tell myself when I moved here, just say, okay, 5 years after you graduate grad school, let's reevaluate. How are you doing? Are you happy? Do you have enough gigs? Like, is this working? So that was in 2022, and I said, yeah. So I started telling myself again, 5 years. Is it working? How are we doing? You know, the goalposts shift. So now I've been here long enough time that like the things I want out of the city in my career are a little bit different than I was 10 years ago. But yeah, I'm still happy. You know, I see myself being here for as long as necessary. I mean, of course, life happens, things happen. I can't sit here and say that I'm going to stay here till I'm 85. But yeah, this is the place I'm going to be now.
When you came to grad school here, did you also during that time have the opportunity to play gigs to be able to get into the scene here and kind of get a sense of what a professional career here might look like?
Yeah. And I've had a sense of that in Texas too, just playing gigs, getting involved with other bands, other kinds of musical situations that would be paying or recording work or stuff like that. The biggest part of this, the thing that I got the best out of grad school was the network of people that I met. I met my wife.
Yeah.
I met other friends who have, through word of mouth, have gotten me long gigs with a bunch of other people. Relationships with my professors have yielded amazing opportunities. So yeah, the community with the grad school was that. Yes, that did give me a sense of kind of what it was going to be like. New York is so big and there's so many people here. It takes a really long time to start to get established, but you could kind of see, you know, little gig here, a gig here. Then you get a call from a random person you don't know. Hey, this person recommended you. And then that kind of just spreads.
You graduate from grad school, and did you already have paying opportunities available to you where you could really dive straight into being a professional musician living in New York? Did you have to balance that with a full-time job, a part-time job? How did you survive?
I have been very, very, very lucky to not need a day job. I don't want to say the word day job because I kind of work all day and then gig at night. It's like you never have a day off, really. I'm either thinking about something or I'm practicing or I'm working on some other thing. And then at night I go play drums, and then morning it's like, what do I got to do today? There's kind of like really no days off like a day job. But I have been very lucky that drums or music or just music in general is, you know, I've taught at music schools. My wife and I taught a semester at NYU last year. So there are like day job-ish kinds of things, but everything has been in the music field. So I've been very fortunate that that's all I've had to do.
I would imagine there's a lot of randomness to this, but the opportunities that have come your way in all of their shapes and sizes, how did that happen? You mentioned, you know, relationships with professors in grad school. I'd love to hear about how an artist actually creates the opportunities that allow them to have financial opportunities to be able to begin to try to survive here as a professional.
I would say 3/4 of this career is away from the gig. It's your relationships with people. It's, you know, stuff like punctuality. It's professionalism. It's hygiene. It's, are you prepared for the gig? Are you early? Do you have a good attitude? It's kind of like basic. And then also, are you a good hang? Do people want to be around you? You know, and you know, sometimes with, you know, when you're on the road and touring, you're spending so much time away from the stage, and you're with these people in close quarters for many hours a day. So are you fun to be around? I think that's a very underlooked aspect of this. And of course, on top of that, you have to just play your ass off. You have to sound incredibly good, because at the end of the day, people want to play with you. People either hire you to make themselves or their music sound better or just as best as it could possibly be, or they just really like your personal style and however you've developed that. So I would say that the first and foremost thing that it has to be, you have to be a really good player. But there's a lot of people who are really good players who also don't have the other stuff. So that's why I said most of the gig is not the gig. Most of the gig is when you're not playing. It's
personality qualities and habits. It sounds like.
Yeah, it's a huge part of of this. And so if you're a cool person and you're fun to be around, or not, maybe you're not a cool person or fun to be around, but you're professional and you're prepared, you can get calls and people would recommend you for things. When I can't do things, if people come to me and asking for drummers, I have a list of people that I trust that I know would do a good job, because not only are they great players, but I don't have to worry about them doing something that would make the person asking me for reference not trust me.
Yeah. Not fucking them over.
Not fucking them over.
It's a reliability part, I would imagine, as well. If you're going to vouch for somebody else, you need to believe they're going to show up and do the thing.
Yeah.
In the first maybe year or two post grad school, were you already touring? Like the opportunities that began to generate some momentum, some money, was that mostly in the local clubs? Like, what do you remember about the initial transition from student to professional?
My first tour was in 2018, so not too long after I graduated.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that other time and throughout school too, I was playing some gigs, but it's just kind of like I define making a living. When you're 22 years old, I can have 3 roommates, so the cost of living and how much you need to make to survive is a sliding scale of stuff, and the types of work that I was taking then is not paying as much as stuff that I would be getting now, but that was okay because I'm young and fresh out of school, and I'll take anything. And then the longer you're here, the more established you are, you kind of get better up. It's like getting promoted at a job, in a way. So yeah, I was doing enough that with 4 people living in this apartment was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah.
When you're that green, are these opportunities like $50 to play for a few hours?
They can be. They can be. Yeah. I had a couple times a month, I was playing in a big band at the Zinc Bar. We played late, like 10 to 2 or 10 to 1:30 or something like that. And it was like $50. But I was just so excited to play. And then, I mean, you can kind of think of it like any investment, because now I'm investing in myself and what I can do in front of a ton of other musicians. Like a big band is like 20 people.
Yeah. So
there's people in there who might hear me and like me and then get my number, and then down the road that leads to a gig.
Totally. Are you thinking at this early stage that your priority number one is playing as much as you can, getting better, and establishing a good reputation? Was money ever really the leading factor? You have to be concerned about that, obviously, to make sure you're solvent. Yeah. But I'd love to hear about how you prioritize, especially early on, beginning to get some momentum as a professional.
I think you nailed it. It's just more about just getting out there and playing. That's really all I wanted to do. I just wanted to just have gigs. I wanted to be playing out. I wanted to be performing, because that's ultimately what I moved here to do. I didn't move here to just go to school. I moved here to play. So anytime the phone rang early on, I took it. I didn't.
It's a yes.
It's a yes. There's you'll find a lot of people that's kind of a polarizing thing. Some people say take everything, and then some people say be very selective so that people only associate you with what you want to do. I took everything. Because I wanted to play and just be in part of as many scenes as possible. Not everything was a jazz gig. It didn't matter. And that, those other things led to other relationships. It led to other things. Yeah. So my viewpoint is I'll just take everything. Yes, money was a concern, but it wasn't a driving factor. And also, if I was going to say no to so many gigs because they didn't pay enough, people would stop calling me. If it was always a no, why would they keep trying?
Yeah.
That's also kind of what I thought. I just want to be available. If something pays great, then it's like almost like a bonus. I'll take it.
How long did it take to get to a point where you began to say no to some things? I would imagine you had to earn that over the years. When did you know it was time to start, if that moment came?
I'm working on that. It's probably something that I need to do more of. But I like playing. I really do. I think to myself sometimes that I think like, man, should I take this gig? And then I think, well, if it doesn't really pay a lot, or, if it's going to be like weird hours, or if I, for whatever reason, if I'm thinking, well, I'm going to stay at home and then not make any money.
Mm.
Or I could spend 5 hours out of my day. I get to play and I get to do something.
Mm.
So yeah, I probably should be better, more selective, because then I could use that time now to do something else that's more productive towards personal goals instead of just taking gigs just to take gigs. But yeah, sometimes I just like playing drums. So
that makes sense. Do you, in the world you are in right now, are there, because I've met plenty of musicians too in the last year or so, and I always like to learn, the hacks that you have gleaned, the information you've gleaned over the years that have really helped in maybe in a strictly financial sense. If there are certain jobs that come around during the holidays or for weddings that pay often 10x what a $50 opportunity may pay in a random bar in New York.
Wedding and event bands are good.
Tell me about that. Tell me about the opportunities that are known in your space that they may not be your ideal venue, but they're fun, they're fine, and they pay well. What are those?
Event bands. Yeah. Wedding bands. Yeah. I love playing that kind of music. Like I have the drum chair in a band like that is really fun. I did a wedding a couple weeks ago, and we started the dance set at 8:30 and we played till 11. That's 2.5 hours. And we literally did not stop playing for a second. Like the way this band works is they call a tune towards the end and you transition like a DJ. And as the drummer, if I stop playing and people on the dance floor, people stop dancing, they leave to go get drinks. Yeah. So I didn't stop playing for 2.5 hours, but I love that. It's so fun to play that kind of music. But they pay well. Event bands pay well. New Year's gigs pay well. Holiday gigs pay well. Because typically like a corporate client is putting on some event, and they typically have a larger budget than like a venue or something. Yeah. So when they're putting on holiday events or New Year's parties or stuff like that, the bread is pretty good.
I would imagine there's a randomness to this as well, but how do those opportunities tend to come your way?
Word of mouth. Yeah.
Same.
I have a friend of mine who's a saxophone player who was involved in this event band company, and he's been trying to get me in the system. This company has 6 bands, I think, 5 or 6 bands. So they need a lot of musicians at all times, because sometimes I typically like all 5 work on any given day, like at the same time. So he was trying to get me in, and then they had a last minute sub. So then they tried me out, and then they liked me. So then so now I'll just get emails like, okay, on this date, here's the location. Yeah. And just so my calendar in the summer and the fall fill up. Winter and spring are dead for weddings, but summer and fall are good. But yeah, those I take those because it's fun music. It's good musicians. Like the bands are really, really good, and they pay pretty good.
Is it a roughly 10x amount?
Yeah.
Than what is customary?
5 to 10. I mean, it depends. Every gig pays different. There's like an acceptable scale, I feel like, for people who are in where I am in my career, in the scene of people I involved, there's like an acceptable scale. So whatever the multiplier is, that just kind of depends. But it pays good. That's not a gig I'm going to say no to.
You said you just now that you played for 2.5 hours. I mean, that is not physically easy. I'd love to hear about the training you do to keep your body and your arms in shape, probably your whole system in shape, that can actually maintain that level of output.
When I was at North Texas, we had a guest artist come through as a pianist named, I forget his name. Anyways, there was a guest artist that came through, and he gave a master class and said, musicians are athletes of the fine motor muscles. And that is extremely true. Like if you think about a piano player, like all the dexterity you need, or a saxophone player or a trumpet player, and drums, very physical instrument. Bass is a very physical instrument, all these things in your arms. But I've been playing drums for almost 30 years, and every day. That's a lot of repetition. Yeah. So I feel like I am just kind of naturally in shape, drumming shape, just from the sheer amount of work that my muscles are used to, just like that physical demand. If I had to do 3 or 4 of those nights in a row, I'd probably start
You'd
to feel it. But for a one once a week type of thing. With all the other gigs and stuff that I do, I also like to think that I have pretty decent technique where the overuse isn't going to injure me.
Yeah.
Musicians' injuries are a very real thing, but fortunately I haven't had to deal with that. But yeah, I think it's just because I've just been doing it it's like a farmer. Like those farmers are just strong because they've just been doing that kind of labor their entire life. Similar thing.
I don't know if you meet people who are 10, 20 years ahead of you, age-wise, that have been doing this, and they perhaps have noted that there are things that they've had to adjust to maintain the longevity in the field, like prioritizing sleep more or doing more intentional certain types of exercises. If that is a common piece of advice or experience of professional drummers, what do people need to do very often in order to maintain excellence in the field?
I would say it's two-part. It's mental and physical. I think that an important thing is to try to take a break before you realize you need a break. Because burnout is a thing. People get very burnt out. Like I said, New York is not an easy place to live. So burnout is really real. So I think just kind of like prioritizing rest and time away from music, or just thinking about, I think that's a big part of longevity. From a physical standpoint, I think you're just listening to your body. There's a friend of mine who is 10 or 15 years older than me, who's been touring like a ton his whole life. And now is just like, I need 7 hours of sleep like, I don't care.
Yeah.
The band's hanging out. Too bad. I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
So just listening to your body. I think, diet is one. It's hard to eat right on the road. It's very hard to eat right. So, just kind of basic normal health longevity things. But I think a bigger one is the your mental health when it comes to your life and your career. And sometimes you can just get the blinders on. It can get overwhelming. So that's where you start to see people start to get into trouble.
You mentioned earlier about how you've never really had a desk job or a day job. What does a random week tend to look like for you? Is it, on a Monday you assess the opportunities coming in for the forthcoming week and you decide what you want to do? I'm sure a lot of these are booked out weeks and months in advance.
Yeah.
And again, I'm sure there's a lot of randomness in every week where nothing quite looks the same. It's probably one of the exciting, fun parts of the job. But are you out playing 2-3 nights a week? What's the typical week looking like for you these days?
So I'm lucky to have a handful of steady gigs that happen on specific days of the week. So right now I have a gig every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, reliably, unless they're not, like they get canceled or something like that. But I can kind of look at my calendar and think like, okay, here's that. And then I kind of try to fill those other days with other things that I'm working on. They may be things that have like longer deadlines. So I also kind of produce music. I like mix music for people. So just okay, today I have like 5 or 6 hours I can work on this one track. Or I try to write something for myself that I'm going to put away and like record some other day. So it's always kind of filling the gaps between, or maybe for one of those gigs there's a bunch of music I need to learn. Or if I have a wedding, there's like a bunch of specific songs that I don't know that I have to make charts for. Stuff like that. Or finding time to practice. That's what I was saying earlier. It's like we really don't have schedules, because like during the day I'm working, and then at night I'm working in a different way. So just trying to find times to fill my day with music related things that I need to tend to with shifting deadlines. But yeah, there are, and then sometimes gigs come in. Sometimes I'll have one gig a week. Sometimes I'll have 6 gigs a week, sometimes 2 in a day. Or it is random. It is, it's a blessing and a curse. Yeah. It keeps it fun and exciting and different. But also it's like, I don't know what I'm doing in July, So
for most people in your position though, is a Monday, Wednesday, Saturday cadence kind of the sweet spot where you're not working every night of the week, but you have consistent work? Do you prefer the structure of knowing that 3 nights a week you have reliable output, reliable income. Is that your...
Yeah, for me, I like that. I like that a lot. I wouldn't mind working, if I got called for gigs on those other nights, yeah, that would be amazing. To have a gig every night of the week would be great. I'd probably be tired.
Yeah.
But that would be very fulfilling for me. But when you're like on the road on a tour, if you're gigging every night, that's also a different thing because that's all you're ever doing. There is nothing else. So that is like working every single night in a different way. Yeah, I everyone's different. It's just kind of what your energy levels are, or how much free time do you want to have?
Yeah.
Do you like playing everyone's, like other people's music? Do you want to try to doing something for yourself? How selective do you want to be? Everyone's different. But like I said, I kind of have a hard time saying no. So
yeah,
I'll take gigs if they come my way.
You mentioned burnout. Have you ever had a time in your career where you have thought, I need to do something else? This is, I'm either too exhausted or it's not what I hoped and dreamed it would be. I need to look at other career paths. Have you ever seriously considered doing something else?
I wouldn't say seriously considered. I think that it's natural for freelancers like myself to question where they're at in their career at any given time. Yeah. So if I think to myself, okay, I've been doing this for this long, these are my opportunities, I was hoping for these opportunities, or maybe I'm really happy where I am. It's just kind of like a self-reflection point to think, okay, so that's why I give myself those 5-year things I mentioned earlier. Check in. How am I doing? Am I happy? Am I doing what I want to be doing? I don't think I've ever seriously considered it. I do check-ins with myself. The biggest one, am I good enough? Am I a good enough musician to fulfill the dream that I had of being here? Whatever that is, the dreams change. But am I good enough to achieve my goals? And I think that everyone at any level, beginner to master, asks themselves that. So I don't think that ever goes away. I've asked myself that. Am I really good enough to be doing this? And so at this point, I'm saying, yeah, I'm still here. I'm still enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm happy with what I'm doing. Of course, there's more that I want to do. Yeah. I don't feel like I've reached the ceiling of my career. There's still lots more that I want to do, lots more that's going to develop with the bands and the artists that I work with. Everyone is growing constantly. So that's an exciting thing to be a part of.
What are the current dreams? What's left to be done?
Well, I want to make my own record. I put a little EP out in COVID, but I've really kind of worked on or solidified to myself what I want that sound to be. So it's just really kind of, I want to put a record out and I want to really market it, and I want to try to get like a team of people behind it to put it out, kind of tour, do stuff under my own name, kind of with the goal of having that kind of be something that gets attention for people who, from scenes that I'm not involved with, people who maybe they don't know who I am, to kind of get their attention, to kind of grow my reputation or to grow my network in some way. And if the worst case scenario, if that doesn't happen, at least there's something out there that I feel like is really like a me statement. So that is something that I've been putting off, because the question, like, am I good enough for this? I'm a little paralyzed by my own fear of it not being good enough, but it's just something that I have to work through. But that is something that I am actively working on, trying to just compose, write, think about who do I want to be in the band? Do I want a band? Because I do a lot of stuff with electronics. If I play this live, do I want a band? Who do I want a band? Who do I want to play with? Which venues am I going to start looking at? That's all way down the line. Right now, I just kind of got to get the music thing figured out.
Have you ever seriously considered moving to some other city than New York? Is this still fundamental and crucial to what you do, being here physically?
I think so. At this point, I've thought, I think about going back to California because my family. Yeah. But for for the things I just expressed to you, those kinds of things that I want to do with my album, I think New York is still the best place. But also, since it takes such a long time to get established here, I feel like I am established or becoming established, and moving now would be like starting over. Yeah. And work so hard to just be around. One piece of advice that a master saxophonist, his name is Mark Turner, gave me right when I first moved to New York. I asked him, well, I'm 22 years old. So I'm like, how do you make it? All like doe-eyed and like, what's the big secret? And he said, just stay here because people leave and then the pool of availability shrinks. So just stay here and stick around. So, and then yes, you can like forge your own relationship, solidify in that, and then your reputation can kind of grow from there. But I think about that a lot, and I think it's good advice because I've had many people come and go. New York is not for everybody. I don't judge people for not feeling like they want to live here.
Yeah,
that's totally fine. There's so many places I don't want to live. So I'm just trying to, I'm happy here. I love it here. So I think that staying here is not difficult for me.
If you were to have a 22-year-old doughy-eyed coming up to you for advice right now, or if you were to talk to your 22-year-old self at this point, what advice would you give him? What have you learned that outside of what we've already talked about, if there's anything else to share or wisdom to know, what would you say?
I think the biggest piece of advice is something I kind of talked about earlier, which is just relationships.
Yeah.
Like just become really good friends with people and you'll come up together. Because if I get asked to lead a band, a gig, the first people I'm thinking about are my friends.
Yeah.
Not only are they great players, but they have all that other stuff we talked about earlier. I trust them and we're going to get along and it's going to be fine. And so like I have a scene of people that I draw from because I have close relationships. I'm not going on Instagram and finding which piano player has the most followers.
Yeah.
Let me DM this guy, try to get him on the gig. That's not how it works. And if you think like a big jazz legend's going to be standing in the back of a club with his arms folded, like I'm looking for my next bass player, and you're on the, it's not going to work that way anymore. It might have worked 70 years ago, but that's just not really how it works. So relationships are really important. And I've seen this with people who are older than me, who are jazz legends in their own right. I've been very fortunate enough to befriend probably my biggest drum inspirations. His name is Eric Harland. And there was a day where he invited me to a recording studio just to hang out while they track an album. And him and his band all have known each other for like over 20 years. Half of them went to high school together.
Yeah.
And they're just messing around like I would with my high school friends now, except they're all just like kind of the best in the world at what they do. And a light bulb kind of clicked like, wow, they're all friends. That's the most important thing. Relationships, friendships. So that's the advice I would give to a kid who maybe he just graduated.
Yeah. I love that. I always close with the same question, which is asking artists how they think about the word success. As we sit here now with your career where it is and your life where it is, what does that word mean to you? What does success mean in your definition of that word, both professionally and personally?
Happiness, I think. Like, do you love what you're doing? Money comes, money goes. I mean, obviously, we all want to make as much money as possible. That goes without saying. But I don't think that success could necessarily be defined on your financial success. I think it's really important to ask yourself, are you happy? Are you happy doing what you're doing? If you are happy what you're doing, you are successful in life. I think that if you talk about people, there's a book like the top 5 regrets of the dying,
or for sure,
like that.
Yeah.
And it's never like, I wish I made more money. It's always about something that's more human, more personal. So for me, just, looking at your life in general, not necessarily only your career, but like your relationships, do you have something you got to get off your chest? Do you have some regret you need to do? You need to apologize to somebody, or is there something holding you down that you have to address yourself inwardly, personally? Are you happy? And if you are genuinely happy, then you are successful. Because I feel like that will bleed out into what you do professionally. If you feel good about yourself, then you're going to be more able to play in a way that is more honest with yourself, more open. You're going to sound better. You're going to draw more people in. So I would say happiness is how I define it.
And you're going to be a good hang with a good personality who's going to...
Exactly. And then that's going to lead to financial success. So that's what it's a kind of like, more opportunities. So it's just, I don't know, happiness is how I would define success.
Bro, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.